As business owners, we want to make our time as valuable as possible. And that means getting the stuff off our plate that is no longer the best use of our time. The best way I found to do that is by hiring overseas, typically referred to as virtual assistants. And now, in order to get to the point where a virtual assistant is providing you and your business so much value that it makes your time worth exponentially more, there's some things we have to get out of the way first. And the truth is, I talk to a lot of business owners that are not ready to hire a virtual assistant, let alone a top performing one. Like, you have to be deserving of having that top performing virtual assistant in order to attract them and in order to keep them long term. Now, I made a lot of these same mistakes in my e-commerce business, which is why I know them so well. And since then, having built up my own overseas team, have learned what does and what doesn't work, especially when hiring from the Philippines. And so this video is going to distill down some of the lessons that I've learned and the same lessons I've been able to provide for our clients that are hiring overseas through us. I'm Zach. I have a 7-figure e-commerce business that is run by my overseas team, and I run a recruitment firm that places overseas talent with 7- and 8-figure business owners. Now, first we'll talk about what it costs to hire a top 1% virtual assistant. Because say local salaries in the US, you could be paying 40, 50, 60K for a local employee in the US, which is going to get you someone full-time, but it's not really going to get you that top talent. The equivalent is hiring a VA for like $2, $3 an hour. They're going to show up to work and they might get some of the job done, but it's not going to be the best you can. And then locally, if we move up to like $150,000, $200,000 a year in salaries, the equivalent for the Philippines is like a $5 to $10 an hour salary. And so I will have some clients that will come to me and will be wanting, I need the best overseas hire, I need the best virtual assistant, but my budget is $2 to $3 an hour. Can you work with that? And I tell them straight up, no, it is not going to be possible to find what you need, because these higher performing overseas hires know their worth. And they're going to be charging more than the newbie that hasn't worked a day in their life. And so the first thing I want to get out of the way is that by looking at a higher salary range, who would have guessed? You get better talent. And I've seen it over and over again in my own business, especially, where when you do try and compromise and hire these $2 an hour virtual assistants, it ends up costing you 20x more in them having to complete the same work 3 times over. Now you have to keep correcting their work, and you just spend way more time on the training than someone that is asking for a higher price and also catches on really well. Now, there's definitely outliers, but in my experience, there is a direct correlation between how much a virtual assistant's salary is and how well they're going to provide for my business. Because this is not a luxury expense. This is an investment into your business and your future. But honestly, from the discovery calls I've taken, the conversations I've had, a lot of business owners are not ready to hire virtual assistants, let alone top performing ones. And there's a lot of things that are holding them back from being able to have a team that is high performing. The first one is that they don't think they need to lead a virtual assistant, that because they're overseas, because they're just a VA, they don't actually need to be provided the same leadership and the same coaching that someone local would. Now, I treat hiring overseas the same way I would if I was hiring someone locally. The same vetting process, the same filtering process, the same leadership. Just because you are a remote business does not mean you're not able to create a culture that they enjoy. Just because they're on the other side of the world doesn't mean I need to compromise on what I'm looking for. Another reason a lot of business owners are not ready to hire top virtual assistants is they don't have a clear value proposition. It's like, why should this person work with you? Some people will assume that because they're in a developing country, that they're all begging for the work and that they need it so bad, so they'll take any sort of work environment just for the pay. And that's not the case. Assuming we hit like a base salary range, they're looking for way more than that. It's like, if they're going to be spending 40 hours a week in this role, they want it to be something they enjoy. And so one of the things I make clear in our recruitment process for our clients is like, the follow-up interview is a way for them to see if they want to commit to you. Like, if I'm just blindly matching people, then the candidate might be like, yeah, I don't really like this business owner. I'm not going to try hard. I'm going to quit a week in. And so the follow-up interview, it's like that show Love is Blind. It's like, I want to know what I'm getting into before I fully commit to this. And so it's a two-sided partnership of the business owner and the candidate. It's not like, well, I'm paying you, so you should love working here and you should give it your all. There's way more to that. Like, the high performers I've found in my experience really value recognition. That's a big part of a positive work environment, is what I found. Public recognition, like through Slack, through team meetings, and private recognition, giving them stuff they can be proud of. I found, especially in Philippines culture, that goes way further than any bonus would. And the last reason a lot of business owners are not at the point where they can hire top virtual assistants is they're not ready to give up control. Like, they're so used to always being a hand in every single bucket, which in the business, sure, you have to be doing that. You have to be doing every aspect of the business, but eventually you get to a point where it's no longer a good use of your time to be doing these lower value tasks. And suddenly this bucket becomes way more important. But instead of allocating less time to this bucket so you can allocate more here, they just keep it at the same level. And it goes deeper than like a business thing. It's more of like a personal problem to be dealt with, of getting to the point where you're okay with maybe the job being done 70% less than it would have if you were in charge of it. But now you're in a better place because you're allocating your time towards something that makes the pie bigger. Now, before I think you can be ready to hire a virtual assistant, there are several shifts that need to take place in order for you to get there. We'll start off with some of the mindset shifts. First off, that it's an investment, not an expense. Like, you are hiring in order to buy back your time so you can more effectively allocate it. So you need something to effectively allocate it towards to make it a worthwhile investment. Like payroll, having a virtual assistant is not just a convenience thing. It's not a way for you to work less. It's a way to scale your time. The other mindset shift is from, I need a virtual assistant, to, I need to build an overseas team. Because that opens your mind up to, what would a team actually look like? What do I need to do in order to lead that great team, rather than just, how do I hire a virtual assistant? Before you're able to hire effectively, the next thing you need to do is make sure you have the processes and the systems in place before you hire. With the Philippines culture especially, I've noticed they work exceptionally well with direction, with a lane to just run with. And so putting the systems and the processes that I have up here that I already know really well, putting them onto paper for someone allows them to excel at the work, rather than you just hoping that they'll figure it out first day. Before you hire, you need to make sure that you are able to retain this top talent. You need to keep your investment long term. And you do that by, as I said, creating a place where they feel like they want to show up to work every day. I have taken many interviews with candidates that said, well, I asked why did they leave their past job? They got paid well, but they said the culture was not one they enjoyed working in. And so as a leader, it's my job to provide the necessary culture, the necessary environment that allows them to be at their best, not just pay. The top 1% of overseas hires are going to want to work with a company that provides them with an environment that allows them to be at their best. One that they can see the vision for themselves fitting into. One of our interview questions is always, what do you see for yourself in the next couple of years? And we use that to see how we can fit our visions into each other. Now, I know this might open up a lot of problems. You're like, okay, well, I need to really get my systems in place before I'm able to hire, which is very true. And you also need to start getting your hiring process in place so that when you're ready to jump, you can go at it. Because it's not just as simple as making a job posting and suddenly you got all this great talent on your hands. Because that day when you feel like you are ready to hire is going to happen way quicker than you think, and you want to be prepared for that. You need to know exactly how to spot the top 1% when you come across them. So in this next video, I break down my full vetting process that has placed over 50 hires for our clients, going through 40,000 applicants. You can use this system so you filter down to just the top 2 or 3 choices for you to pick from. Even if you're not hiring today, understanding this process will help you work backwards and become the kind of company that these top hires are going to want to work for. So if you want that full breakdown, click this video right here while it's still fresh in your mind. I'll see you over there.